The confidence is shaky, the prose is bad. Will I probably have to cut all of this out later? Probably. You know, the draft's not happening, it's a little shit, but I'm living my best life. Hi everyone, welcome to today's writing vlog, which is going to be a Preptober I don't know what mess. Today is October 1st, and tomorrow is Foster's birthday. The series that I've been writing for a very long time turns 8. I thought I would spend my Saturday relaxing and writing the series. Seventh Virtue is going really well. Seventh Virtue, if you aren't aware, is the novel I've been working on since May of 2021. It is adult fantasy and it is kind of the love of my life right now. I just hit 86,000 words in the draft. So I'm getting to the midpoint in this book, which is pretty exciting. On one hand, I feel like I haven't done enough development because one of the subplots is just like really detailed. There are a lot of characters, a lot of stuff I can go through. But on the other hand, it's 86,000 words. I'm in a bit of a weird space where I need to make a decision on whether or not Fun and Games ends now or whether or not I continue with this midpoint, because there is a lot that I could still go through. Seventh Virtue, I think, is going to be a really long book in general, and lucky for me, I'm not looking to publish it in this form, so it doesn't really matter how long it ends up. But Fun and Games has spanned from chapter 6 to the current one that I'm writing, 15. So a lot of chapters in this beat alone, and I don't know, I feel like it's kind of time to move on, and maybe I can come back and add some of these scenes if I feel like they're necessary later on, or I'll add them into book 2, which I'm thinking of writing anyway. So that means I'm at the midpoint, which I always used to like dislike the midpoint of books, or like I just never really knew when I'd gotten to a midpoint. But actually, I'm looking forward to writing the midpoint because it is like this sort of moment where you can kind of be a bit disastrous. I think I was watching one of Alexandra Bracken's writing diaries that she posts on Instagram, and she was talking about how she also never used to like midpoints, but now she likes them because you get to like mess up your character's life so bad at the midpoint, which is gonna be pretty fun. So over the last couple of days, I've been doing a lot of writing. I took quite a bit of a break for when I got back to school. I'm in my last year of university, so I just had to kind of settle back into the routine of school. And to be honest, I kind of forgot how to integrate writing into my routine. My routine as a student when it comes to writing is I don't write. But this semester I'm not in workshops. So I've been in a bit of a strange predicament where I'm like, do I have free time? And I'm a little confused because I'm pretty sure I have free time. I think like 2 days ago I decided, you know what, now is the time to like get back into drafting. Funnily enough, I didn't realize it was October and like Preptober is here. Now I'm not sure if I'm going to do NaNoWriMo. I probably will, just like for fun. My Preptober is just to write as much as possible of Seventh Virtue before I get to November. So I kind of have an idea of where I'm gonna go with the book, because I don't really know what happens in Seventh Virtue after the midpoint. That's really where I've kind of finished my planning of, you know, scene by scene. I know the major beats and I'm pretty sure I know how the book is going to end, though the endings always change because I'm a pantser and the endings are never the same. But I just kind of need to get past the midpoint, because if I get to November and I haven't written beyond that, I'm just going to be writing without any ideas, which is gonna be a disaster. Yesterday I was doing some writing and I did quite a bit of work. In the last like 3 days alone, I think I've written like 4,000 words, which is pretty nice. And I kind of left off in the middle of the scene, so I need to finish that up, which shouldn't be very difficult. I know what needs to happen. I don't really care to write this right now because it's like not very interesting to me, like the scene itself. So I'm just gonna kind of like get through it. So I'm probably going to do like a 10-minute sprint because I don't think this is going to need much longer. So before we do that, I'm just going to quickly reread what I wrote. So I have 192 words. Why did it feel so much longer? This felt like it took 2,000 words to write. 192 words. Okay, update. So for the first sprint, I wrote, I think like 300 words in like 10 minutes. 330 words in 10 minutes. And then I just kind of was in the zone, so I just kept going. And I wrote an extra 166. Hi guys, so it's the next day. I ended up writing about like 800 words last night in total. Then I got tired, so I just kind of called it a night. It's the next day, which means it's also Foster's birthday. If you didn't know, if you like missed my video on like how I accidentally wrote a 10-book series, Seventh Virtue is part of this larger series called Fostered, and the series turned 8 today, which is kind of crazy. I know, it's weird. Like, I can't believe it's so old. Like every year I'm always shocked. I remember when I turned 1. Like, I used to celebrate Foster's like 1 month anniversary and 2 month, 3 month, 4 month, 5 month, and now it's 8 years, which is kind of wild. Through that, we have seen a lot of projects, a lot of changes, several different genre switches, kind of pivots, and this project has been with me for a long time. So I was excited to kind of celebrate today. I was a little destabilized when writing last night because I am finishing up a bit of a subplot, which it feels weird to me because I feel like I have a lot more to go, like, in this subplot. There are still opportunities for me to flesh out more of this sort of characters at the Peterson estate, which I've been working on for like a year. So it feels a little weird and uncomfortable to pivot and to add something new. It's just, you know, I'm not used to that. It is good because I think I'm stagnating a little at the draft. And with that said, I think like the last 40,000 or 50,000 words of the book has taken place at the Peterson estate. Like, it is time to move on. If I want to add more scenes, I will do that. So now I gotta write kind of like a really important part of the book, which is a little nerve-wracking, to be honest. Last night's writing session didn't go like the way that I thought it would. I thought I would have written a lot more, but honestly, I needed some time away because I wasn't feeling, you know, the most confident. I was watching my friend Shaylin post a really great video on their YouTube channel, which I'll link in the description, basically sort of talking about, among other things, confidence. And I thought it was so interesting because, you know, as a younger writer, when I first started writing, I was like really willing to like try new things, even if I didn't think that I was necessarily a good writer. Because when I first started out, I didn't think I was a good writer. I wasn't insecure about my writing, but I didn't think that it was like publishable standard just yet. Despite that, I would like be pretty willing to experiment and really go for it with my writing. And as I've gotten older, as I've gotten better at writing, as I've, you know, come to be what I think is a good writer, that has sort of changed a little bit. Like, I'm less willing to experiment or do things that I might have just thrown myself into when I was younger, because there didn't seem to be as many consequences when I was younger. When I'm 13 or 14, who cares? Like, I'm not publishing any of this right now. But as I've gotten sort of older and I've gotten better at writing, I've gotten more confident. And now that I'm confident, I'm like, no way will I experience insecurity again, which is just so not true. Like, this is something that I've been thinking about for quite some time. It's something I talk about on my channel all the time anyway, that like, just because you're not infallible, basically, when as a writer, even if you do gain confidence, it doesn't mean that in the future you're not going to struggle. I think with writing, it can feel like, well, why not? Like, why is it that, you know, I've been working so hard on this? How come I still feel insecure? Like, why can't I just not feel great about my writing all the time? But that's just not how writing works. So yesterday I was not really feeling the best about my writing process. I was feeling a little insecure. I was like, nobody would want to read this. In the very rare instance, or I don't know, like in the occasion that I want to publish Seventh Virtue, which is a dangerous conversation to pull me down, because this is not really something that I want to think about too much, but I've been thinking about it a lot. I'm like, well, it's so cool. Like, people would enjoy reading this or whatever. I've been kind of psyching myself out at the potential of readers looking at this, even though that is not my priority right now. So because it's Foster's birthday, I'm trying to kind of jig myself, put myself back in a situation where I worry less about an audience and I worry more about what I think, because the whole point of the series is, for me, it's my thing. It's to make me happy and excited. So let me give you some stats on the actual book itself. It's at 86,826 words. I think today I can get to maybe around 88,000. My goal is to hit 100,000 words in this manuscript before the end of the year, which I'm pretty on track to hit, to be honest. I don't think that's really going to be much of an issue. Seventh Virtue in itself is going to be a really, really long book. I haven't written a book this long in a really long time. Now, on average, my books used to be quite long. So the first book I wrote it was difficult to get to the 40,000 word mark, but I did it. I got to 40,000 words. Second book I wrote was Fostered, and that book was nearly 90,000 words. The second book in the series, 90,000 words. The third book in the series, 200,000 words. Fourth book was like 150. Second book was like 140. Sixth book was the shortest, I think, of all of them, at like 70,000 words. Mothwork and Feeding Habits are quite short, and they're spin-off series. They're like 53,000 and 63,000 words. So I haven't written recently a manuscript that's really long, because the last time I wrote a manuscript this long was probably, I don't know, 2017 or 2018. So I'm like, why is this happening? Like, I don't even know how to go about like writing something this big, because I haven't even made it to the midpoint. I've been saying this about Seventh Virtue for a long time. Like, oh my God, I'm like at 20,000 words and like nothing has happened. I am going to just start with, a quick writing sprint. I like that I started with a 10-minute one yesterday and then went into the 20 minutes. So I think I'm going to do that. I do have like a really amazing writing sprint timer. If you didn't know, I've been uploading some writing sprint timers. If you like writing sprint timers, I will link them, because I love the ones that I've been making. Like, I've just been posting them because I wanted to share them, but I made them because like I genuinely like them. So I'm gonna use the 10-minute relaxing writing sprint timer. I think this is my 9th year of writing, actually. And so yeah, the series has been with me for 8 years. I've written 12 novels and I've written over a dozen short stories. I've gotten like nearly like 10 of them published, like have tons of poetry published. You'd think, oh, well, she has nothing to worry about. No, you still worry, which is such a hard pill to swallow, because it's like, oh, it's not fair. So the first sprint is done. I wrote 388 words, which is fine. It's pretty average for a 10-minute writing sprint for me. Did I really write anything that matters? And will I probably have to cut all of this out later? Probably. I could probably honestly just not write this transitional scene. I think that's the problem, is like it's super transitional, but like I've already written it. So I'm just gonna move on. Word count's at 87,226 words. So I'll definitely get to 88,000 today, because I'm just gonna continue writing for the rest of, I was gonna say the morning, and then I realized it's literally midday. Okay, update. So I've not had the day that I thought I was gonna have, but you know what? Sometimes that's how Sundays go. I was writing and the confidence is shaky, the prose is bad. I am not feeling secure in this book right now. So it's not been very fun, and because of that, it's a labor. It's not a labor of love, it's just a labor. And to kind of quell some of that, I was currently been obsessed with Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. Everybody already knows this book. But anyway, I'm reading book 2 right now. I'm actually listening to the audiobook. The audiobooks are really, really good. They're awesome. But I do have the ebook as well from my library. So I have been like paging through the actual writing to sort of get some inspiration. I really like how Leigh Bardugo writes. I think her prose is great. It's succinct and the pacing is great. Each sentence is like really earned. Like they're not extraneous or anything. A lot of the writing in Seventh Virtue is extraneous. And to be fair, it's a first draft, and obviously a published draft is not a first draft. But sometimes, like when I'm reading, and this is sometimes why I don't read when I'm writing, but anyway, when I'm reading, sometimes it's difficult to not compare my own writing to, a fancy published book, which sounds silly, but it's something that I know a lot of writers do. We're like, I'm reading this book, how come my book is so much worse? Like the idea is so, cliche. The ideas are undeveloped. The characters are undeveloped as well. The prose is stilted and repetitive. The scenes are unnecessary. And especially when you're reading something that's published and so well polished, it's hard not to think those things. And that's like kind of where I sit back and I kind of remind myself, Rome wasn't built in a day. You literally cannot get that same level of quality that a published book has on the first round. You can do it with shorter forms. You could totally write a great short story in one draft. You can write a fantastic poem in one draft. But for novels, I've never heard of a writer writing like a perfect novel on the first go. So it has been a bit of a process today of just reminding myself, I'm getting the inspo from Crooked Kingdom, but I don't need to feel bad about my current writing because it's not, up to my standard or as good as somebody else's, for example. So, but it's been really interesting to sort of dissect Leigh Bardugo's craft and see what she does, because as somebody who understands writing craft a little bit more, I study writing craft, and beyond that, I have been developing my own writing craft for nearly 10 years. It's really great to look at somebody else's and see, I like how they did that. How did she do that? Something I like about Leigh Bardugo is her exposition is usually like very briefly given. There's quite a bit of summary. A lot of fantastic published writers can like traverse time like it's nobody's business and don't have to write a whole bunch of random scenes like I'm currently doing. Another thing that I did today is I put on a perfume. So if you watch Katie Wismer, I think she mentions this in her videos where she like has this thing where like she'll wear certain fragrances for certain books that she's writing, like kind of like a scent association thing. And I just love that idea. I have not done that myself, but I think it would be like a great way to like remember a book, especially, you know, scent is so integral to memory. So I decided to do that today. And I think whenever I write Seventh Virtue, I love, look how beautiful this bottle is. I love Eilish, Billie Eilish's perfume. It's the most like, oh, do you see? This is art. Anyway, it smells very gorgeous and warm, like Harrison, like marshmallows. We're getting the gold here. We're getting the gold in the necklace. Like, I'm living my best life. You know, the draft's not happening. It's a little shit, but I'm living my best life. Hi guys. So to close out this vlog, let's talk about how much I managed to write in one weekend. So I started this vlog on like Saturday afternoon, finished it up last night, and I've written about 3,000 words this weekend, which is really great. I started at about, I think, like 86,000 words in the draft, and I'm now nearly at 89,000. I'm just like 200 words off. In terms of like the confidence level of everything I wrote, it's very low. Like, I'm not happy with anything that I wrote this weekend, but it's fine. Like, I'm gonna survive. So if you're in the same boat, we got this. You're gonna be fine. If you write something you don't like, the best part is that you don't have to read it now. You can read it later. So that's gonna be it for me. Let me know what you're working on. Are you doing NaNoWriMo? And if you are, what does your Preptober look like? Because mine is really chaotic drafting. Let me know in the comments, but for now, I'll see you in another video. Bye.